Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in for another show. Welcome to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers from all across the world. And thank you so much for tuning in again for another live stream. If you're new to my channel, I have these live streams regularly. And I also have videos too. The live streams are more in-depth talk, open for the community. But if you prefer shorter videos, you can go ahead to my video tab, where you will find shorter videos on a regular basis. We've had lots of things going very quickly, a lot of talk about the ceasefire. Israel is agreeing to withdraw in phase 2 from the Philadelphia corridor, but no declared confirmations from the parties who we are interested in hearing them from, particularly Benjamin Netanyahu. He did not deny that, but he did not confirm it. But we're also seeing that Hamas is insisting on Israel withdrawing from phase 1, not from phase 2. So we had certain statements coming from the Hamas leadership saying that, no, we need to withdraw from phase 1, not from phase 2. Are they thinking that Israel is going to try and fool them when it comes to phase 1 and then not follow the actual plan to continue to phase 2 and not actually have a continued ceasefire during the process? Because the talk was, if we don't agree on phase 2, then we need to continue the ceasefire. Israel questioned that. They said that no, we have the right to continue the war. In recent weeks, they said we're only interested in actually phase 1, not the other phases. But the United States administration are supposedly working on this magic formula that everyone will somehow agree on. Hamas is still telling them, no, we need to agree on the July 2nd proposal that Joe Biden proposed and the UN Security Council resolution that demanded a ceasefire. But then clearly the United States Security Council, even when the United States proposes and pushes for a motion for a resolution, even then it cannot be implemented. Although no one showed any objection, Russia only abstained because they had a problem with the elaboration when it comes to a permanent ceasefire. They didn't want Israel to restart the war, but no one had a veto. No one completely disagreed with the notion of a ceasefire. But we're not there yet. We'll see. Tomorrow we're supposed to have, on Friday, we're supposed to have the new proposal coming out from the United States administration, in which they will detail exactly what they think when it comes to the ceasefire, and we will see how that is perceived, both on the Palestinian side and on the Israeli side as well. But what I wanted to talk to you about in this live stream, and of course afterwards I'll open the space up for all of you, is more resignations from the Israeli army. Israel, of course, is facing the toughest period in its history, from a societal perspective, politically, militarily, economically, from a global perspective. But the army faced a lot of problems ever since the beginning, not only with the failure to recruit people fleeing Israel so they don't serve, people refusing to serve, people running away from the war, parents of IDF troops asking or declaring that they will not be sending their sons and daughters to serve, people who have disabilities forced to go back, people with mental illnesses forced to go back, failure to recruit and enforce conscription on the Orthodox community in Israel, and a desperate mode when it comes to having 15,000 that they urgently needed. They resulted to extending the age of the reservists in Israel, and they also extended the period of minimal serving time in Israel. All of these things are very problematic for Israel, but they're not only facing these problems, they're facing a lot of problems when it comes to resignations, and resignations in the army during war, and not any war, during the most existential war that Israel has ever faced. They send a lot of messages and they have a lot of meanings. So we had the whole team of Daniel Hagari, the spokesperson, resigning. Oh, that's approximately, well, many months ago now. Then we had the commander in the West Bank resigning. Then we had the commander of the Gaza division resigning. We had the commander of, or the top figure in the Israeli Military Intelligence Directorate resigning. There are talks about the top figure in the 8,200 unit resigning, but this is suspicious because this man, Yossi Sariel, is supposedly the man that Hezbollah targeted when they said this is the first phase of our response. They said we targeted Yossi Sariel because they knew his identity, because he leaked his identity several years back, and he faced a lot of criticism for that. Now, unless we see him and see the man alive, we will have more reason to suspect that Hezbollah was successful in assassinating him. However, Israel is not saying anything when it comes to that so far. But the most shocking resignation now, the resignation that many in Israel are calling an earthquake that's breaking the army apart, is the resignation of the commander of the ground forces in Israel. The commander of the ground forces in Israel, Tamir Yadai, he resigned. And in Israel, they are really worried from this resignation and from the fact that you have continued resignations from the army. And again, you're not only talking about resignations for the role itself, you're talking about lots of messages when it comes to resignations. This is showing disapproval. You're disapproving of the army, you're disapproving of Benjamin Netanyahu, you're disapproving of how things are running. So we had this article that I want to share with you because it relied on multiple articles coming from the Israeli side in Al Jazeera that spoke about this, and they described the scenes when it comes to Israel, because many people in Israel, they had their comments when it comes to this, and they took snippets and parts from multiple figures and multiple sources inside of Israel. So they have this article here. Why did the Israelis describe the resignation of the commander of ground forces as an earthquake? They called it an earthquake. Military analysts consider the resignation of commander of the Israeli army's ground forces, Major General Tamir Yadai, as an earthquake. They said it's an earthquake, and the leadership of the General of Staff and the headache for its chief, Herzi Halevi. The disagreements within the military establishment reflected everything related to the failure to prevent the Al-Aqsa flood attack and achieve the goals of the war on Gaza. They continued, although the resignation was for personal reasons, according to him, military analysts estimate to rule this out. The estimates rule this out, and they agree that it comes in the context of resignations of senior army officers and the struggle over appointments to leadership positions in the general staff. Yadai's resignation, which will take effect in a few weeks, was preceded by the resignation of the head of the Military Intelligence Directorate Amman, Aharon Haliva, the commander of the Gaza division, Brigadier Avi Rosenfeld, and the commander of 8,200 unit, the military intelligence, Brigadier General Yossi Sariel, who will soon end his duties. They said he will soon end his duties, but again, when we talk about this man, there is suspicion that he might have been directly targeted by Hezbollah. Hezbollah said that they targeted him directly, but there is no confirmation from Israel when it comes to targeting him. The correspondent and military commentator on the Walla website, Amir Buhbut, points out that the resignation or termination of the position comes as a result of hidden disagreements within the general staff promotions and appointments in the army leadership, describing it as an earthquake Following the successive resignations from the leadership positions in the army, Bowell explains that the General Staff has been on high alert against the backdrop of the war in Gaza, discussions about the prisoner swap deal, and other expected changes in the hierarchy within the General Staff leadership. The military correspondent said that the ongoing ground forces commander was considered a future candidate for the position of Deputy Chief of Staff, but according to estimates, the current Deputy Amir Baram will not end his position soon. He believes that Yadai's decision stems from the assessment that Halevi does not intend to recommend him for the position of the next Deputy Chief of Staff. So, of course, they're trying to portray it as internal divisions and disagreements when it comes to the position itself, but you're having much bigger problems here when it comes to the army itself. There are things to do with their incapability. There were criticisms that were there from Herzi Halevi himself. Don't forget, before the occupation of Rafah, Herzi Halevi was one of those people who said, we don't want to go to Rafah. We shouldn't go to Rafah because we are not equipped, we don't have enough manpower, and we will be facing a lot of problems if we do. Clearly they have. Netanyahu is trying to take this as a point against him, a point against Herzi Halevi, that look, I told you, and then we went to Rafah and everything worked properly. But that did not entirely work, because you still talk about a position where the army is suffering heavily when it comes to Rafah. But Benjamin Netanyahu, again, is trying to portray it as if, he is the key decision maker and acting like he knows more about the army than the army heads themselves. And this was an interesting part that I wanted to finish this with, and then they ended with it. The disintegration of the army. This came from one of the analysts in another newspaper who said that what we're talking about here is a very serious situation, basically, and that the army will not be rehabilitated, but what is happening will lead to disintegration. It will lead the army to disintegration. You're talking about things that weren't mentioned before when it comes to Israel. You're talking about a country that always had this respect for the military. The military was something holy. The military establishment, the security establishment. You can criticize the prime minister, but the politicians, but when it comes to the army, no, nothing. But now they're talking about the disintegration of the army itself, especially with the massive failures, with the massive problems internally and infighting in the army, the divisions between the brigades, the divisions between the units, and the fact that some of them are more aligned with certain political figures than other political figures. Again, this is the third most significant resignation. We're, by the way, not talking about the cabinet resignations. The cabinet resignations were also consisting of Benny Gantz and Gadi Eisenkot, both of whom were the chiefs of staff in the army. Benjamin Netanyahu added them to the war cabinet to have this military backing and legitimacy to his cabinet, but they still resigned. They did not want to continue. So you're talking about failure after failure, and these things add more and more stress on Israel. On another note, Hamas have been publishing day by day videos of we're not going to publish them here, but videos of the Israelis who are kidnapped in Gaza, the Israeli prisoners in Gaza. They are trying to apply a lot of pressure when it comes to the Israelis who are in Gaza, especially with the recent ones that were killed. Why? Because they want to show the Israelis that they were alive. These people were alive, and your government decided to take it the wrong way. And every day they're posting a new video with these people who, basically were killed, and Israel took their bodies. and Israel is criticizing the way that they're portraying. They're calling it psychological terror, and that they are, torturing the families of the prisoners, but it's not working. Although Israel's trying to cover it up, it's not working with them. It doesn't matter what they try and do, it's not working. But Hamas know that they have an impact when it comes to the Israeli public. Therefore, they are continuing to publish these things when it comes to Israel. This is what I want to share with you in this live stream. Let me see if you have anything. If not, we can make it a quick, short live stream. No, it doesn't look like you have any questions or anything. We'll wrap it up there, guys. I'll hopefully be with you tomorrow as well. I also posted 2 previous videos. You can go ahead and watch them. Apart from that, enjoy the rest of your evening, day, or night. And I will hopefully see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone.